going on, guys? Welcome into another episode of Money Moves. Mr. Breedwell.
Mr. Aitchison.
We are going to rock and roll today. It's a light week on news.
We had such a heavy week last week.
Well, I mean, we've just been going so ham on the political campaign trail. It was like...
Oh, I'm so glad that that's behind us now.
It is nice that things are cooling down a little bit. I don't know about you, but I've been talking with a lot more people recently, and it seems like everybody's just really like light and optimistic and excited about some common sense leadership in the White House. And obviously we talked to a lot of business owners, a lot of investors, and people are just like this idea of a golden age and like really trying to strip down and remove a lot of the red tape, a lot of the BS policy, a lot of the stuff that really doesn't incentivize innovation, growth, leadership. Not saying that that wasn't present in the last administration, but people are very excited about this pro-business, pro-investment, pro-real estate, just a lot of the policies that are pro-America. And are you hearing that same kind of sentiment and theme and energy with a lot of the people you're talking with?
Yeah, I have. I mean, we do live in California, so there are going to be some people that are from California.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that are still unhappy, but I don't talk to as many of those people.
Same. So those people I've heard like the typical, I'm really, they're like, I'm scared. I'm like, what are you scared of? It's kind of weird.
If you ask them to like legitimately detail it out, it's kind of, you don't get much substance there.
Well,
Project
really
2025,
I keep getting, I'm like, I'm just telling you, so some women I've heard say like, oh yeah, it's going to be like Handmaiden's Tale. I'm like, what world do you live in?
I always wonder like it just shows, in my opinion, just how much fear-mongering and weaponization the media has had over people's minds. So if all you're subscribing to is CNN or certain publications, like I understand because basically they regurgitate exactly what they're saying, which ultimately has been debunked in a lot of different scenarios. So
yeah, Morning Joe trying to get with Trump and then literally saying like, oh yeah, we got back together with him, and then Trump being like he came back like a dog with his tail tucked or something, and he's lucky I let him back in. But the lady was good, as she normally is. They
were terrible to him over obviously the last 4 years, and I did see like the ladies on The View were like, how dare they go to Mar-a-Lago and kiss the ring and bend the knee and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like that some outlets and publications, they're just doubling down. But then some are like, hey, did y'all, like, the campaign is over. You don't need to keep saying that stuff. Like, did you realize that didn't work?
Some people live in this la-la land, like the women on The View. And some other, hosts, CNN is axing, like, a ton of their staff. I just think the Times, they got a new CEO. He essentially is saying, hey, we're cutting your pay pretty much to nothing so you can go or we can fire you. But I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I think, again, moderate politics, more people win than lose.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
You know, it's crazy to look back on and realize. I saw like a little bit of a thread this last week that I noted. I thought it was pretty wild. The guy who is the threat to democracy, and for the guy that they've labeled as Hitler and so many things, there's a lot of people that are going and building relationships and talking with quote-unquote Hitler and trying to work with Hitler. But to look back and reflect on what Trump was up against and actually getting back into the White House, he was banned from Twitter for 2 years. He was banned from YouTube for 2 years. He was banned from Instagram and Facebook for 2 years. The government pressured Facebook to censor dissenting voices as misinformation. The government pressured Twitter to shadow ban conservative accounts. And these were all things that were actually proven. You got the Twitter files, and you've got Google, you got Zuck coming out and saying what he said, that they did somewhat in collusion based on what the Biden administration was pressuring them to do. The government pressured Twitter to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story. Trump has been hit with hundreds of lawsuits, incurring $200 million in expenses over the last 8 years. Legacy media near uniformly posted negative headlines about Trump. Essentially, I think there was like an aggregate of all of the data and coverage of him over the course of the last 4 years, and it was like 90% negative or something like that. Google search results reflected may have even amplified media bias. So just like the fact that he was able to win, I mean, you got near attempts on his life and win in spite of all of this, I think is just a testament to how passionate Americans were with not just him, but with the team and the policy that he's going to be enacting and pushing forward. And there's a lot of people that are not too happy about his appointments. What are you thinking about, the team that he's putting together and how that's going to tie into a lot of the different things, whether it's stock market, real estate, foreign affairs? What are your thoughts and feelings on it?
I think that a few of the picks have been interesting. You told me a couple here today when I arrived that I hadn't heard. But I think overall they're non-establishment picks, which is what we kind of want. There's a few that I was surprised at, and there's a few that I'm even more surprised at. Like you told me, Dr. Oz was a what position did he get?
He was going to get over Medi-Cal, Medicaid. I forget what the specific appointment of it was.
That's interesting. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I don't know. But again, very interesting picks. I will be very interested to see how these individuals do at their jobs. I think the ones that are more non-traditional doing well would bode well for the administration moving forward. That would be my 2 cents on it.
I saw this photo, Tone, if you want to pull this up. You got a lot of people that are saying how upset they are and how ridiculous his cabinet picks are and how weird some of these appointments are. And
I already know.
You look at Biden's cabinet and some of the people. These are 2 very interesting characters. And
like
the
mental
101. Both of them are men acting as women.
They're
and it was just funny, right? Like the people that are unhinged, so upset right now of these weird non-establishment picks, are the people that are over here celebrating, those types of appointments. So I'm very optimistic just to see that a lot of these are not career politicians. They're business owners. They're investors. They're, people who have, been in, honestly, a lot of the very particular niche areas that he's appointing them to. They've been in those industries for, a long time, running their own businesses or, doing a lot of good things in those areas. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I wanted to see if we could pull this up real quick as well. And I think it just kind of highlights, this was a little clip from Joe Rogan. It highlights how many people were in the silent majority. And he talks about it once he endorsed Trump, which he was kind of, steering clear of for quite some time and ultimately got to the place where he ended up doing it. How many people reached out to him saying, thank God you endorsed him because I just wasn't brave enough to do it. Here's take a listen.
Many artists that have reached out to me that are like fucking hippies, man. Like artists, like musicians, comedians that thanked me for endorsing Trump because they can't do it. They said they want to, but they don't want to be attacked. They can't say it. They think the country's going in the wrong direction. They think that this control of social media by the government, which we would have had pretty much fully if it wasn't for Elon buying Twitter, that this is a dangerous precedent to set, whether it's a right-wing government or a left-wing government.
Both.
And that what you see that's happening in the UK where people are being imprisoned for tweets and Facebook posts.
In the UK is the part that's mind-bending about it.
Mind-bending. The whole thing is nuts, and it's a dangerous path that we were on. We were on that path. Trump has vowed to have free speech become a very important part of what he's standing for, and that this censoring of information needs to stop, and that we need to stop all government influence in what people have to say.
Yeah, and it basically, I think, was probably one of the biggest things that led a lot of people in the silent majority to want to vote the way that they did, because a lot of these stories were uncovered, and it significantly impacted a lot of culture and society over the last 4 years in a direction that a lot of people were not happy with.
Well, I agree. And I think that the simplest way to put it is the pendulum had swung so far one way and it literally to the left, it was bound to pull back to the middle at least, because some of the stuff, I mean, I don't think we're too big of a country with too many opinions to be like the UK. The UK is much smaller than the United States, so I don't ever see that happening here. But that was the path that we were pushing towards, which is censorship to that level, and it's just to protect people's feelings, which are not something that is...
Or the people at the top, their interests in controlling the narrative.
Correct. And then what you do is you pander to that to get votes. Mm-hmm. It's a 101. Let me help you so you can help me.
100%. Last on Donald Trump today, his sentencing for 34 criminal charges in the state of New York was abruptly adjourned today by Judge Merchan without explanation, which is a very big positive step for Donald Trump.
I think they're going to toss the case out.
That's the way it's leading right now. This is one step in that direction that foreshadows that potentially being the outcome.
And then that dude is going to be flefukt. He is. Oh, they're going to definitely. If you don't think they're going to go after, and then the Letitia, whatever. I mean, I still can't believe that they said, "Stop harassing the president, or we'll lock your fat ass up." End quote.
That was what the attorney.
Holy crap!
Was leading the case on that one.
That was hardcore right there.
Yeah. Yes. Well, as we know from the Trump team, they usually don't hold their punches on saying what it is that they feel or want to say. And it's obviously not always PC. Some people love that. Some people don't. But one thing you do know about this administration is they are what they are.
Yep.
And they're not going to say one thing to your face, and they're not going to do a complete different thing behind your back or behind the curtain when they told you something completely different. So take that for what it's worth. Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, officially broke 2 million followers on... I am one of them as well. And I'm having fun watching some of the stuff. I mean, this is probably, outside of, I think, the Maha movement and Make America Healthy Again, I'm really excited about that for the future of our youth. Obviously, my kids, and just seeing Americans get healthy again and not being taken advantage of by big pharma and our medical industry and food industry. But I'm really excited about Vivek and Elon leading this. Obviously, this comes off of the heels of the 7th failed audit by the Pentagon, which can't fully account for $824 billion of our hard-earned tax-paying money that they utilized, $236 billion in improper payments in federal programs in 2023, $200 billion in pandemic relief went to fraud and abuse. The U.S. failed to track $1 billion in Ukraine aid. When you think about the fact that there are 438 federal government agencies and sub-agencies, that's insane. The federal government is the largest employer in the United States. The federal government is in debt at nearly $36 trillion. And all of this is funded by American taxpayers. I can't wait to see what they do when they get in there. And they're already hiring, by the way. I've got a couple friends that have tried to apply to go be a part of it. I thought it was really interesting to see how they're, working on getting people to, join the team.
Be a part of the good.
Be a part of the good. And now, let's say they go in and clean some stuff up. How do you think that ties into the economy, the flow of money, the opportunities that, could result for people by keeping more money in their pocket?
I say it's a retention of government funds, so that would allow for the money to be diverted to areas where it could actually be impactful versus where it's going now and not.
Yep.
We could simply also just divert all of it for the next 3 years to our national debt and have it paid off. So there's very big implications for that. But $2 trillion a year of excess spending, we can revert that into a lot of good things. We need to invest in our infrastructure quite heavily.
Yeah.
So that would be a big chunk of that.
I saw Elon mentioned how outdated government computers and our server systems are, and how, one, that's a national security threat. Two, right, that's a perfect example of all this unaccounted for money going to all of these egregious things, and some of the basic 101s of, government efficiency and security are not even being met. I saw this post by Charlie Kirk, who went down, I won't read them all, but he went through and listed just 15 examples of government waste. Payments to deceased individuals. The federal government has dispersed approximately $1.3 billion to individuals who are no longer alive. Unemployment and Social Security payments to prisoners, an estimated $171 million has been improperly paid to incarcerated individuals. Medicaid, Medicare fraud, fraudulent activities within Medicaid and Medicare programs have resulted in losses of $101 billion, indicating a need for stricter oversight and fraud prevention measures. You've got inclusion initiatives, almost $40 million being allocated to DEI hires, prompting debates about the effectiveness and necessity of such spending. Weapons for non-military agencies getting $1 million. You've got the maintenance and underutilized federal buildings. The government spends approximately $2 billion annually on buildings that are underused or completely vacant. You got transgender monkey research. The NIH also spent $500,000 on studies involving transgender monkeys. Research on Russian cats. The National Institute of Health allocated over $500,000 to study the movement of Russian cats on treadmills. Tax delinquencies by the IRS, right? So the list goes on and on. Drag shows in Ecuador. The State Department grant of $20,000 funded drag shows in Ecuador, right? So like when you go down this list, this one government made $100 billion in improper payments in 2020, including overpayments and underpayments, indicating systemic issues in financial management. Like the list goes on and on. These are the things that I think people are fed up with.
And that's what they want.
When they're struggling to make ends meet, right? They don't have enough money left over at the end of the month to make investments, to try and further their wealth building or financial, foundation, or move towards, financial freedom. These are the things that people are really starting to get upset with and obviously excited about. And Elon posted this last week. We'll move on after this. All actions of the Department of Government Efficiency will be posted online for maximum transparency. Anytime the public thinks we are cutting something important or not cutting something wasteful, just let us know. We will have a leaderboard for most insanely dumb spending of your tax dollars. This will be both extremely tragic and entertaining. This is how you get the trust back of the American people.
Mm-hmm.
Just
show them what's going on.
Give us a glass window. Let us look inside.
Figure it out.
If you're going
all
to use
the best
my money,
restaurants,
I'm not telling you I don't want to give you my money. I'm just saying if I do give you my money, I just
spend it
wanna know,
wisely.
Yeah, let me have some accountability to it.
Yep.
Right? And like you said, the best restaurants, they got an open kitchen.
Yep, they have the glass right there so you can see what's going on because they want to show you they want to show you the process because the process is part of the magic.
Now, we've got, before we wrap up on politics, Make America Healthy Again. I do believe that obviously this movement is going to face tremendous opposition, even though it's got tremendous support right now. This was a tweet put out by a doctor basically saying, hey, this is going to face a lot of pushback. The proponents that are pushing this, right, he's getting, Kennedy is getting significantly, critiqued by all different kinds of people on the left right now. The proponents of this movement will be attacked, viciously smeared. The American people will get gaslit that it's a bad idea. A multi-billion-dollar campaign funded by Big Pharma and the food companies will be unleashed. We know that we know this going into it. It won't be easy, and if you want to help make the necessary fundamental changes, the best thing you can do is stop supporting these corporations by no longer using or needing their products. Make yourself healthy, make your family healthy, and you will accomplish much of this collective movement. So I thought that was, a good reminder for people thinking that, it's there is going to be a lot of, I think propaganda and
it won't be a light switch. It'll be a lot of these. I'll tell you what, when they are putting heart healthy on canola oil, we got a long way to go.
We got a long way to go for sure. Well, take a look at this real fast. This just shows you who the top Congress members are that have been funded by Big Pharma campaigns. I'll just pause that at the very top.
Primarily all Democrats except Mitt Romney, who says he's a Republican.
Which is a rhino. Yeah. So you got Mitt Romney over $3 million, Kamala Harris over $4 million, Hillary Clinton over $4.5 million, Barack over almost $6 million, and Joe Biden over $9 million, who are the biggest recipients of pharma money. So it just shows you, right? Like, very clear why certain individuals and certain,
interests are pushed by those in power because they're funded by those special interests.
100%.
Yeah.
So if we can
Cronyism 101.
Cronyism 101. Now let's talk about rate cuts, talk about the market. Let's talk about World War III potentially spooking and or not spooking retail and or institutional investors. As of today, Russia says that Ukraine attacked it using U.S.-made missiles, signals it's ready for nuclear response. This is just 24 hours, within 24 hours of Joe Biden giving permission to use long-range missiles with Ukraine inside, which is essentially just poking the bear, provoking Russia. They've already said they're willing to listen to Donald Trump's.
Both have. Neither of them are going to do anything. They're both just right. You know what they're doing? Posturing. That way when they come to the table and negotiate, which they both are, they're going to get a little bit of what they want and a lot of what they don't. And everything they need. And then that will be over, and then we can stop the conflict over there. It's going to end just like North Korea, South Korea. There's going to be a DMZ. There's going to be an occupied zone in whatever they're going to call that area. It's Russian-occupied Ukraine. I don't know what they're going to call it. And they're going to force Ukraine to suspend their NATO for 20 to 25 years. So we'll deal with this again in the future, just not now.
Yeah. And that was kind of the plan that they had documented out. Now, a lot of people were concerned. He's marching us into World War III, his last 2 months of presidency. How's that going to impact the markets? We saw the markets go a little red today, and then how did it play out?
Huge rebound. I even tweeted, I think in the middle of the rebound, I was like, this is another granny shot opportunity. Easy to get in, as plain as day. Russia's not going to do anything. They don't have the money to have a war. So, they quite literally cannot afford to have a war. They can shoot a bunch of stuff and blow some stuff up and cause a lot of mayhem, no doubt.
Yep.
Nobody's trying to end the world. It's mutually assured destruction. They do it, we do it, everybody does it, everybody's gone. So we all blew each other up to blow each other up. Great, what do we got to show for it? Nothing. Mm-hmm. So really, nuclear weapons are more of a deterrent than a use thing. I don't ever think we're going to see a nuclear weapon used on a developed country. On a developing country that's small, that nobody cares about or people care about, but is a Gaza or Palestine, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw something like that. But no developed country is using a nuclear weapon on another developed country. There's too much money to be made in figuring out their differences.
Sure.
And Russia needs us on the world scale in the economy, just like we to a degree need them. They have a ton of natural resources. They're Africa 2.0. So they're needs everybody. Nobody's launching a nuke. It's all just rhetoric. We don't really fight wars anymore. Everybody fights proxy wars in developing countries. That's just how it works.
Overall, we saw the market rebound.
Fully recover and then some. And completely shrug that off. It's exactly what I was telling you earlier when you're like, oh, what about the missiles? I said, I don't think the market cares much about the missiles. The rhetoric was a little sharp, saying that he would escalate to nuclear war, but the market also showed how much they believe that, which looks like to be about 0%.
They didn't believe it very much.
No.
If it rebounded in the way that it did.
No, and you didn't see Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or Boeing, up 20 or 30% today on war. You didn't see that. You actually just saw the market as a whole, especially risk areas of the market like the NASDAQ and the S&P were up, and the biggest benefactors of the day.
Now, we did see FOMC will cut its federal funds rate target by 25 basis points at its December meeting.
Yep.
With a probability of right around 60% chance right now. Still looking like they're going to be doing another 25 basis point cut to close out the year?
Yep.
In your opinion?
Yep. I don't think anything's changing that. If inflation was out, it was hot or something like that, that could change it. The 10-year's being sticky, but you got to understand that that's going to happen when the tail end of the curve is pulling back up. It keeps the middle stuck for a while. So that lag is to be expected.
What breaks that free, in your opinion?
Normalization of the yield curve and then inflation numbers continuously going back into line. I don't know if we'll get back to 2%. That's one I'm still up in the air at. We're at 2.6 right now. So if we keep trending down, everything will keep being good. Cost of goods and services needs to get down and back closer to where it was. And then cost of money. It's really the biggest, really the linchpin right now that's holding things back. If we can get the cost of money back cheap and there's the 10-year yield sticking its head out again at us, that is where we can really see some fireworks kind of happen and some acceleration in the U.S. consumer spending more and U.S. Companies benefiting from that.
Did we get retail sales or
we did?
And how did that look last week? I actually did.
They were good. Excluding automobiles, they were not so hot. So the automobile sales were much better than expected, but overall fairly good. We're going to see a ramp up into the fall, and I'm expecting a pretty solid Santa Claus rally to end the year out, moving into 2025.
Looks like as of today, on the 19th of November, building permits and housing starts came in cooler than expected. Nothing too drastic. I think part of that is a little bit of the election, runoff and some uncertainty there. But overall, from expectations to where they actually came in, housing starts and building permits were still somewhat at a healthy level, even though we're still behind the 8 ball when it comes to providing affordable housing and housing in general.
We just need more, and then we need cost of money to go down. But it's good that the cost of money is still a little bit high. It gives time for inventory to catch up.
Yeah, I think this is honestly one of the times of year that I have said in the past and will continue to beat this drum. This is one of the best times to get in the game, is Q, specifically in real estate. This is when they're made, when people are either taking their foot off the gas pedal and they're just completely checking out of the game. This is where the people that are in the game, that have their foot down on the gas pedal, are the ones who actually get some extra mile distance and see some of the opportunities that others are overlooking or just not looking for in general. And this is where you actually get some people that have to do something by the end of the year, come to the table and say, let's find some creative way to make this work.
Yep, I agree. It's a lot of my business gets done in Q4. The majority of my business got done in Q4 because it was like a lot of people thinking about their money, and now they're getting it done towards the end of the year. And then beginning of the year, they cool off.
100%. I mean, I know a lot of people I've talked to that are like, hey, I got this, estimated tax bill coming up. I got to figure out, buying a piece of real estate by the end of the year that hits this criteria, and they get to work, right? You got sellers that are going, I need to liquidate, by the end of the year. So I think this is, I always love Ed Milet's, separation season mindset of going, when most people are like, oh, we're cruising into the holidays, let's have fun, let's take time off. This is where I get even more focused. This is where I get even more aggressive on, I want to have fun, I want to enjoy the holidays, but I also know that this season, this, kind of climate only comes around, once a year. And it is somewhat of a finite window when you're talking early/mid-November to the end of the year, where people really are starting to check out. So I think this is one of the best times of year to go on the offensive and be super proactive and aggressive with what you're doing, because that's where you can find some really great deals.
If that already isn't your mindset, and sharpening it up even more, it should be.
Well, and talk about how does that tie into this Santa Claus rally. One, I was going to respond to your text and say I'm going to throw a little more cash at you to, kind of see that one through based on your advice there. I listened to my financial advisor, Mr. Breedwell. If you're not connected with him and his amazing team, text the word X-ray to 844-447-1555.
Typically, we just have an estimation of retail sales, and now that we have a new administration and people know what it is and they're anticipating it overall, I think it's going to be a big year of spending, bigger than we've ever had, ever.
Talk more about that. Let's unpack that a little bit. Like, what does that mean for...
Retail sales are going to be insane. So, I think people are going to anticipate that in the stock market, and then it's going to be, next quarter one, which is going to be reporting Q4 earnings. They're going to be nuts. And so that's a great place to start the year off. As long as we have a healthy economy moving forward, we can keep interest rates going back down. It's just good. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. We'll make money. When the economy is good, we make money. When interest rates are low, we make money because we can borrow money and put that money to work and create an arbitrage that's positive with a much higher spread, so then we can take more of our profits and reinvest. It's an overall good thing. I can't wait. It's right around the corner. It's 3 or 4 months away until we'll know that data, but people are going to spend, I believe, this year at a pace that we have not seen maybe ever, but for certain not since pandemic. And
And you think
I'm very
part
excited.
of that is because elections behind us now. We know what the next we think what the next 4 years are where they're gonna.
People aren't worried about geopolitical risk. They showed that today. People aren't worried about the economy. They showed that when the election happened. People are have bigger appetite for risk assets. You see that with the crypto. It's all pointing to positives. All pointing to positives. Welcome to a great conservative economy.
So let's use me as an example. You talked about, hey, if you got a little extra cash that you want to throw into the market before the end of the year, I think there's going to be a nice little Santa Claus rally based on a little bit of a pullback at this point in the year. Might be a great time to maybe just flush a little extra through the system to, close the year out strong, kickstart the new year.
Yep.
What is your thoughts and sentiment, and why should people consider doing that at this point in the year?
Because of who got elected. Yeah, that's really why, because now people are expecting and looking forward towards change. You see the cabinet positions that are being put together. That's going to obviously affect a lot of change.
Yeah.
If you don't, I feel like, and I don't know if the market's going up, right? It could completely go opposite, and I could look like an idiot. But I have a very strong feeling that we could be in for some more real nice gains. We could potentially see S&P 68, 6,900 this time next year. So we have a lot of good things to look forward to in the next coming 2 years for sure, 4 years, I'm hoping, with a lot of positive change that's going to affect the bottom line of people in a good way. So I would recommend that if people don't have an advisor, figure out what you're doing with your money. I'm telling my clients I think it's a wonderful time to get some money in that's laying around. I said another client put in a 6-figure deposit earlier this week. That's money that's going to get put to work and will eventually in the future be multiple millions of dollars.
That's beautiful. Again, the way that you can connect with Ryan and his team, they'll do a complete scan through your entire portfolio, your fee structures. If you've been listening, you've heard us talk about it before, but if you want to connect with Ryan and his team, all complimentary, just text the word X-ray to 844-447-1555. Let's shift over to the sexy topic of crypto. Crypto has obviously been front and center.
I don't even know what's going on.
Trump said, well, we'll get your take on some of these headlines. Trump's administration, obviously, pro-crypto. They've talked about a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Prediction markets are now pricing in a 68% chance that Bitcoin will hit 100,000 this year. That's according to Kalshi. Bitcoin now has a market cap of 1.83 trillion. This means that Bitcoin would need to rise 9.3% to hit 2 trillion in market cap for the first time in history. Prediction markets are saying, hey, it could happen this year. Overall, it seems like with the Trump administration coming in, crypto has benefited in a big way.
Oh, 100%. My portfolio is up like 17 grand in 2 weeks. Like literally $2,000 a day. So yeah, excuse me, $1,000 a day. Come on, Ryan. I'm all for it. I own 0 Bitcoin. I plan on never buying it, but I hope Bitcoin hits 500,000. I hope it does, because that will benefit my crypto portfolio as a whole. I am still of the opinion that other projects that do exactly what Bitcoin is trying to do quicker, because all the news I'm seeing now is JP Morgan, BlackRock launched their own blockchain, so it's quicker, so it's quicker, so it's quicker, so it's quicker, so it's quicker. The biggest problem with Bitcoin, it is the slowest.
Slow and inefficient. It's
very slow and inefficient. That is not good for business. In no way, shape. Don't ever let a developer try to convince you it is. Don't let it. That's the biggest problem with Bitcoin. That, and there's a few people that own too much of it. A lot of people are
concentrated.
Too concentrated, correct. So, not a Bitcoiner. I'm happy if you made a lot of money. Here's what I'll tell you, though. I'm on Ethereum-based tokens like Solana. I have some Cardano. I have a lot of Ripple that I've purchased. Those are speculative plays, but they've played out very well for me. I'm very excited to see where that goes, because I think some of these things can really help move our financial system forward in a positive way. But ultimately, it's going to be for like transferring of assets or transferring of custodial. It's really the future of that. It's never going to be a currency.
It's never going to replace the dollar.
No, because it's because I love to remind people, when you look on your apps, it's telling you the value of it in U.S. dollars, not in Solanas or Bitcoin, or it says the value of this many Bitcoins is this many U.S. dollars. Correct.
Well, speaking of the platforms that govern and oversee a lot of these, financial instruments, Donald Trump just came over the wire, is considering replacing SEC Chair Gary Gensler with pro-crypto lawyer Teresa Goody Guillen. Trump is supposedly looking for a pro-crypto SEC chair replacement. Guillen is a veteran of the SEC, known to be pro-crypto. Just days ago, Gensler released a statement suggesting that he was leaving the SEC as Trump searched for a pro-crypto SEC chair. Crypto prices will likely continue to rise. Just a few minutes before that, Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, is reportedly set to meet with the board of Microsoft to discuss buying Bitcoin. He believes Microsoft should park its cash in Bitcoin. You're just seeing more and more people talking about Bitcoin right now. Is this overhyped? And and what do you say to the person that, again, let's go back to the fundamentals instead of chasing headlines? What do you say to that person?
That's all I would say. I would be like, let's talk about what we eventually use Bitcoin for. And they're like, oh, we'll use it to settle transactions. But what are we settling them in? Well, dollars. The Bitcoin we're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So why are we even fucking with a Bitcoin? Excuse my language. It's like, it's so right in front of people's face.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're like retarded.
But.
It's like, why would I add an intermediary because it creates anonymous? Oh, because I'm anonymous. No, you're not. None of that stuff's true. IRS can trace it. The FBI can trace it. Your wallets are publicly available so that people can use algorithms and AI and figure out whose wallet is what. So with that all aside, what are we doing? We're just using it as a place to transfer. Just say what it's a great way to send people money. I mean, it's like cracked up Venmo. So like that is what it ultimately boils down to be. We can put use, and I'm driving some freaking crypto person crazy, but that's what it is. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. How am I wrong? What are you using? You're putting dollars in there to transfer dollars around.
I mean,
so I'm just trying
to argue that, right?
You got to get past. It's never going to be a currency, and none of the ones I own will be either. I am not under that impression. What I'm under the impression of is I'll just say it, there's dumb enough people to continue to buy it. I bought them a long time ago. I'm making a lot of money on them, and I hope that people continue to buy it. That's all I'm saying. I'll eventually sell all of it, and I guess where it will go. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right in the stock market?
Stock market. Where I own real tangible companies that really do things. Because I would still, where's Bitcoin, first of all? Where's the organization, i.e. Bitcoin? What do they do, whoever they are? And what are they going to do? Okay. So this is where I start to get pissed off because these arguments are so blatantly obvious to me. That's why I can't have a conversation with the crypto people, because they're so like, it's almost like a liberal. You're so convinced of your own thoughts that you cannot see past I don't disagree with that.
There's other possibilities.
I don't disagree that this is going to be disruptive, and I don't disagree that our financial system is long in the tooth. But if you're here to tell me this is the solution, something where we really, like, somebody knows, but we can't even put the thumb on who the fuck created it, like, this is going to be it. Come on.
Well, that's all we got for you guys today. I was trying to scan through and find, some final motivational message for you guys, and I thought this was interesting. So Liam Payne, was it One Direction? He was one of the famous boy band dudes.
I don't know.
So he died last month in somewhere where he accidentally fell off of a 28-story building.
I'm going to say drugs were involved.
His toxicology report came back that he didn't, and he also had interesting ties to the Diddy situation. So I'm not going to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole there, but there's a lot of people who have theories. That being said, he had 28 million diehard fans worldwide, and yet no one is talking about him a week later. That's how quickly people forget about you. Imagine when you die. You're probably going to have less money than that guy, less fame, less fans. You'll be forgotten within a day. And so it's just a reminder to not compare your journey, your story to somebody else's, to live life on your own terms, to do things that make you happy, to be prudent, to be, responsible, to go take risks, whether that's investment risks, right? Whether that's going and starting a business and bringing to life some idea that you've got. That's going out and living life to the best of your abilities in a way that makes you feel fulfilled, feel proud, and not to be held back from any of the external things that our world does so good at forcing people to shrink down and play small. There's so many risks that I've taken in business or in an investment or, in life and relationships, whatever it may be, that ended up being so rewarding, so fruitful, such a great ROI that if I would have listened to the outside pressures or voices that oftentimes many of us do, and there's been a lot of things that I haven't done because of those same things, right? Just a great reminder to get out there, keep living life to the fullest, and not allow your external world, the external noise, the external fears actually prevent you from taking the actions that make you feel most alive.
Agreed.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys in next week's episode.
Cheers, y'all.